On the scroll here, I'm going to just slightly round off these square corners which have kind of burred up over time and they score the bushings, and just chamfer the back edge there, deal with that, turn it around, and the same on the other end. Oh, let's see, I would think there. See, we do that, it'll all go together nice and run nice. I won't show you everything, there's a number of things I have to do that on, and you don't need to see them all. So these bushings come out of the Cincinnati, and these hold the scroll in place that's used to tilt the head. And they both have a dimple hole in there, which is for a dog point set screw. Officially, I believe this is a half dog. I think a dog point is slightly taller, but anyway. And that dog point engages in the hole, and that's what stops these rotating. And what happened at some point is these weren't set up right, and you see this got pushed out and chipped up. This hole will probably work, but it's tarshaled and tight on the screw, and I'm worried this will sort of chip away. Not that worried about it. So I'm going to just drill another one 180 degrees off over here. And the way I'm going to do it, this one is okay, I think. This happens to be in the mini mill from another thing I was doing. Otherwise I wouldn't normally use this, but since it's set up. So I'm going to put this in here, align a drill with that hole. I'll jiggle this around until that lines up, and then spin this 180 degrees and drill the hole. And I think that will work. I think it might be better off going in this way. So I'm not tightening this up for now. And look, I'm leaving the chuck key in. So to drill it, I happen to have a 1/4 inch spotting drill, and these holes happen to be 1/4 inch. And so this is a nice rigid drill with a split point, specifically for making spot drill faces. Oh, there we are. I'll go a little bit deeper. Yeah, that's plenty good. And that's it. Now I'll go and try them in the machine. Here we go. Now, there was a lot of hand-wringing about this installation, because when I got the mill, the 2 bushings that hold the worm gear in place were completely inappropriately set up, and so throughout this whole exercise I had to figure out whether those were wrong or whether these were the right bushings or what. But at the end of the day, it was simply a matter of tapping the bushings back in place, aligning that pilot drill hole with the set screw hole, and that got the scroll perfectly centered. That's right, I'm telling you, that is right. See? There. Perfect. See, this is what happens. You buy a used machine tool that's old and you inherit any bad adjustments that went with it. And this was just way off. It was just so badly set up. And this couldn't be held, and so you couldn't rotate the head. But now we will be able to. Just picked up this handle. Yeah. Well, there we are. We achieved something. What I have to do now is machine a new hub for the Tufnell gear, and this is a pretty simple task. What you should be able to see on screen now is a sketch showing what I'm trying to do. So simple hub, bolt circle through hole, and the through hole will be reamed to closely match the size of the shaft so that it's a good fit. So just turning a piece of leftover aluminized aluminum, and then we'll get this over to the mill for the bolt pattern. Once this is done, we'll work on the gear itself and clean that up and get it ready to receive this. Okay, so I've got the composite gear held in the 3-jaw chuck, just very lightly, as light as I dare, but supported by a chuck spacer behind it so that it doesn't move. And really this is just a case of turning off the old hub and turning a recess in the gear to accept the new hub. Pretty simple. This stuff machines very readily. As you recall, it's made out of old t-shirts soaked in phenolic resin or something like that. Over on the mill now, and just getting the hub set up to drill the cross hole, which takes a pin to drive the actual gear. So using the center finder, or the edge finder rather, just to find position, and then just a matter of drilling that cross hole. Very simple. Since the dividing head was already set up on the mill table, that made really short, easy work of getting this 6-hole bolt pattern in. It's just a matter of re-establishing center, drilling the holes, indexing round. Piece of cake. And of course, after the hub was machined, it was very easy to pop the Tufnell gear in there on top of a pair of parallels and repeat the bolt hole pattern process. It's time to drop the bushing on the floor. Time for some reassembly. So here's the repaired gear. Now this is likely to need some adjustment. I think this is probably going to come out being too tall. Alright, solution to the Tufnell gear. I call it Tufnell. It's basically the same material. It will be an American version of it. Saw Joe Pye using it for something, I'm sure. Forget what the name brand was, but it doesn't matter. Here is the solution. The reason I used shoulder screws and not just regular screws is because on material like this, which is sort of grainy and sort of brittle and can break up, which is why it broke in the first place, having threads dig into the material when it's running on a constant basis isn't a good idea. That would just wear the hole out. So I wanted a plain surface closely fit into the hole. And based on my measurements, it looked like I would be able to shave the tops of the shoulder screws down so they would all fit, but it didn't work out in the end. What I should have done is what I've done here, which is to get some sleeves, which are a very light press fit into the hole and are sized for these screws, which are 832, I think. And then I've countersunk the top of the hole so that the screw is close to flush. Doesn't have to be perfectly flush, but this is perfectly fine. So now we've got best of both worlds. We've got surface that won't scratch on the thing that goes above it, a nice sleeve so that the screws don't wear away the surface over time, and this can now be assembled again, so we'll go and do that.